Hey everyone, Lilith here. Welcome back to another competitive Pokemon video. I'll just get right to the point. RBY SU just released a new VR, which means some new changes to RBY SU, and in this video I'm going to go over them. This isn't like the RBY SU one I did where it was just like speculation. The new RBY SU has been played a fair bit, and I have to say it's been pretty fun. So first off, I'm going to go over the 4 Pokemon that rose to ZU. So these are Wartortle, Rhyhorn, Weezing, and Ponyta. Now, I won't go over these too much, but just like, this is basically the top tier of the previous tier. So there's quite a bit of a power vacuum, and the new drops aren't quite enough to fill it. So there are some Pokemon that have actually really improved despite the power level on paper being higher now. But now let's go over the new drops. First off, I'll go in order of most impactful to least impactful. So Magneton. This thing was stupid. Like, these are the ground types remaining. And look at this special stat combined with Stab Thunderbolt. Like, this thing was banned pretty quickly and for good reason. I had a battle where it was almost 200 turns, and 2/3 of that were 2 Magnetons PP stalling each other. I lost the battle because my Magneton got fully paralyzed, and then while one extra time while both of us were stuck using Struggle. It was just the worst, and yeah, I don't feel bad about banning this at all. Like, even Pokemon that on paper have a type advantage, like Ivysaur, at best the matchup is a toss-up if they're both at full health because Magneton's stats were just so ridiculous. Like, highest base stat total here is 400. Magneton's base stat total, I'll just change this to be a ZU team real quick. 395. Okay, so, but that's if you only count special once. So, like, when you count it twice, like, Magneton has base 120. Highest with Magneton banned is Magnemite with base 95. Like, if that doesn't show how stupidly powerful that thing was, I don't know what will. But now on to Mons that are meta defining, but not in the way of quick ban. Muck is kind of like Weezing, but also not. Now, the main difference, Body Slam. This is a huge game changer because Weezing was pretty much exclusively a special attacker. I mean, it had Explosion and Hyper Beam and stuff like that, and Sludge if you were crazy. But Muck, as you can see, its attack is way higher than its special. Like, it's mainly a physical attacker, though it does go mixed. Fire Blast is just an amazing tool. 30% burn chance is really nice. Hits the grass types pretty hard. It's just a solid move in general. And then, now, one potential strat is Rest plus Acid Armor. Like, Muck is really bulky, and, like, basically nothing can break through it now that, well, without a super effective move. If you set up some Acid Armors. I mean, there's stuff like Clefairy Psychic, but that's not super relevant. And then you've got, like, Lickitung, Swords Dance, Earthquake, but that's about it for breaking through an Acid Armor Muck. And all the while, like, these attacks are pretty threatening, so that's an option. You can also, there's also always, Explosion off of base 105 attack. Like, that's gonna hurt a lot. Like, I don't actually know the exact calcs, but a lot of stuff just gets O-code from full by this. Mega Drain is an option to if you're terrified of Geodude, but like literally everything else takes more damage from Fire Blast or Body Slam or Thunderbolt. You don't have to run rest. You can just go 4 attacks. You definitely want to run rest if you're also running acid armor. Thunderbolt is not super helpful, but it does help with water types. However, there aren't too many viable water types, and stuff like Golbat, you're better off just body slamming, I think. I don't. I should have looked at these calcs beforehand. There's also another option, Hyper Beam. Off of base 105 attack, that's really scary. So, like, Muk has a ton of moveset options. Like, really, you don't even need Fire Blast. Like, you can do something like this. Or maybe like this. Just going full normal. There's also this. Like, as long as you have Body Slam, like, there are a lot of choices. Don't run Sludge, though. You could even run Substitute, I think, but Sludge sucks. So Muk is, like, amazing. The speed stat isn't that big of a deal because, like, nothing is one-shotting you. Very little is even two-shotting you. Similarly impactful, Machoke is base 100 attack. It's a slow, bulky physical attacker. We've seen this before. You've got your Body Slam, you've got your Earthquake. My personal favorite is Low Kick and Counter. Low Kick is really good for messing with Lickitung, and also just helps when you get at something paralyzed to go for Paraflinch. And also, like, Submission is stronger, but Submission is also less accurate and has recoil. And recoil is a problem because you're slow and bulky. You don't want to be taking recoil damage. And also, like, your main targets it for submit for your fighting move has this HP stat. So, like, hang on. 383 over 4, taking it down with just submission is 95 recoil damage. 95 over 363. So that's about that's 26% of your health that you're losing, assuming Lickitung doesn't attack you, but it will because you're not one-shotting it even with submission. This thing is really bulky. But, like, submission is a valid option over Low Kick. I just don't like it. Another interesting option is Rock Slide, which is it's Golbat. That's about it. It also gets Fire Blast, but, like, so what? Like, you'd never run this. Like, there's no reason to run Fire Blast on Machoke. Like, it's just not worth it. You actually have a good move pool. Like, you're a fighting type in Gen 1 and you have a move pool with more than 4 moves that you actually want to use. Why would you waste one of those slots on Fire Blast? Let's see. Weepin' Bell is another interesting one. This is your move set. And you have double powder. Now, unfortunately, base 55 speed makes it kind of just the fastest slow Pokemon. Like, if we look at this by speed, like, 60 base speed is like, there's, like, a huge cutoff between, like, fast mons that are, like, 75 plus, and then there's the slow mons that are, like, 50 minus, and then Weepin' Bell is kind of the slowest mon in that middle area. It's slower than Ivysaur, and it's slower than Horsey. It's slower than Nidorino. Ties Kabuto, but we'll get into Kabuto later. It's not that good. However, it does make up for this with Stun Spore, but, like, it's also, I believe, the fastest Pokemon with Wrap. Well, tied with Ekans, but Ekans isn't good. I mean, there is a faster mon with although several faster mons with Fire Spin, but Fire Spin has half the accuracy of Gap. Razor Leaf isn't a guaranteed crit. It's only an 86% chance to crit with your speed stat. But like that's still really good. So really, Weeping Bell, every team is gonna either have a Weeping Bell or an Ivysaur, and it's kind of too early to say which is the preferred choice, and really it depends on the team style. But like Weeping Bell is definitely an impactful mon. Now going into the drops that are good but not like meta defining, we've got Diglett. This speed stat is insane, and that also means an insane crit rate. Here's your moveset. I guess you can run Body Slam. You don't run Body Slam and Slash, you want Sub. Substitute is good because you threaten out a lot of stuff. However, the problem with Diglett is that, well, first off, it's really fragile. Like, Voltorb Explosion is guaranteed to kill this thing from full. That is humiliating. I've also got the problem that 55 base attack, well, I mean, it's fine. It's not amazing. So you really need your hits to be super effective in order to, like, threaten things out. Granted, you are super effective against a lot of stuff. And so you do threaten out stuff like Pikachu and like low health Golbat. You're threatening to low health Muck. There's a Doduo. And you can set up a substitute on their switch and get a free hit on whatever comes out next. So Diglett's pretty good. Then Pikachu is kind of a similar story in that it needs to be super effective to be threatening. However, it has really good coverage with Thunderbolt Surf. However, basically every time something isn't weak to either of these, and especially if it's something like Ivysaur or Weeping Bell where it resists your attacks, you're going to be using Seismic Toss. Which, granted, is not terrible. Like here, let's see, a Pokemon with pretty good HP, like Machoke, is 4-hit KO'd. But like something with like below average. Oh wait, never mind. Charmeleon is also 4-hit KO'd. Hitmonlee? Oh, okay, fine. It's just a 4-hit KO machine. Your final move is Thunder Wave. Because it's Thunder Wave. You are the fastest mon with a paralysis. Okay, fine, no. Voltorb is the fastest mon with a paralysis move, but you're the fastest mon with a paralysis move that isn't Voltorb. And like, the difference in speed only matters for Diglett, which only is immune to Thunder Wave anyway. Golbat, which is never going to stay in against an electric type. Meowth, which isn't that good anymore. And then Pikachu. So like, it's not that big of a deal. So Pikachu is, like, I was terrified that this thing would be busted with its coverage, but like 50 special is pretty mediocre. And like, I was like terrified that Surf would just be a huge problem because now the electric type isn't walled by ground types. But like your main answer to electric types isn't ground types anymore, it's grass types. And Weeping Bell is absolutely terrified of paralysis, but Ivysaur isn't. Like, Ivysaur is a huge problem for Pikachu. Like, you set up, like, you can just absorb the Thunder Wave, set up Sword Stance. It's just a horrible matchup. You're also threatening sleep, and like Pikachu does not have the bulk to wake up from sleep. Like, it can't even really switch into Wrap or Fire Spin to burn sleep turns. It's that fragile. And finally, for the drops, we have Kabuto. Poor Kabuto. This thing had the misfortune of ending up in the only tier where rock water is a bad typing. Like, let me explain. So you want your rock types to handle stuff like normal types. Lickitung always runs Earthquake. Meowth always runs Thunderbolt. Clefairy. Okay, I mean, Clefairy, like, doesn't usually run Thunderbolt, but, like, you aren't exactly especially bulky. Like, you aren't going to be enjoying tanking these psychics. In addition, Ivysaur is faster, Weepinbell speed ties you, and they both just obliterate you with Razor Leaf. You've got stuff like Muck, which, if it's running this specific set of Body Slam, Fire Blast, Explosion, Hyper Beam, you beat Muck. But if it's running Thunderbolt or Mega Drain, it destroys you, and if it's running Rest, it just Rest loops you. You do have a good matchup against Charmeleon, and you have a good matchup against Doduo, but that's it. Like, Golbat, if it doesn't have Mega Drain, can be a good matchup, but, like, it's really struggling. Like, it's unfortunate because Rock Water is such a good typing in every other RBY tier. But, like, it's just unfortunate, really. So that's it for, like, the Pokemon that are new to the tier or have left the tier. But let's talk about how it's changed existing Pokemon. Starting with the biggest losers, Bellsprout. I mean, like, need I say more Weepinbells in the tier? Like, it's not like if you run both of them, you can put two of your opponent's Mons to sleep. And even if that was how it worked, you just run Ivysaur. Another Mon that's really struggling is Meowth, because Diglett is just better. You do have Stab Slash, which is nice, but the problem with Slash is that since it's always a crit and you get your power from it always being a crit, you can't just get lucky and crit. Like Diglett, when it uses Earthquake or Rock Slide, it has an 18.6% chance to crit anyway. Meowth, like, there's no double crit with Slash. So yeah, it's struggling. Also, the 90 base speed isn't as important now, given that Pikachu and Diglett are there. Nidorino, you might, like, on paper, Nidorino, you might think it has improved because Muck isn't as good of a special attacker, so there's less competition for a special attacking poison type. But also there's less need for a special attacking poison type because Earthquake is way more common, and also just the power level is higher. Like, it's just much harder to justify fitting Nidorino onto a team. Finally, there's Clefairy and Dratini. They have some new competition with Pikachu and Weepinbell for paralysis spreading. These two won't hit as hard as the ones I previously mentioned, but, like, they still aren't as good as they used to be. And finally, Sandshrew has a tough time competing with the other slow physical attackers like Lickitung, Machoke, Muck, as well as Diglett is generally a better ground type. And being able to beat Rhyhorn doesn't really matter if Rhyhorn isn't in the tier. So those are the losers, but let's talk about some big winners. Lickitung, I think, is now the best Mon in the tier. Like, sure, you lose Rhyhorn and Weezing, and those were good matchups, but, like, Muck the best it can do really is explode and trade with you. Machoke is a problematic matchup, but like you have a good Pikachu matchup. Lickitung is a good paralysis absorber. It does not care at all. It's slower than everything anyway, and Swords Dance will reapply the opponent's paralysis speed drop if they are paralyzed. You generally want to run this. You have no need for Surf now that Rhyhorn is gone. So, like, this is your standard moveset. Like, you can vary it up a bit. Like, you've got a lot of neat tools. Like, maybe Blizzard could be good. Rest is maybe interesting. But, like, this thing just has really good matchups. It's good into Pikachu. It's good into Diglett. I think the main reason it's the best Pokemon in the tier now is that everything better than it rose to ZU. But yeah, Charmeleon also goes from like a pretty good Pokemon to legitimately a top 5 threat. A big problem with a lot of the fast mons in the tier is that they're kind of weak. Like Golbat has decent attack, but it doesn't have stab, and then there's Hitmonlee, which is strong. But other than that, like the fast mons are pretty underwhelming in terms of power. So it's like the second fastest mon that actually hits hard, just behind Hitmonlee. And like Stab Fire Blast is insane. Like there are very few fire resists that are actually good. And one of the best ones is Charmeleon. Like every team is gonna have a grass type, and like this is scary for neutral hits. Like Lickitung, Machoke, Mach are pretty scared of being burned. So like it's threatening to like the entirety of the top tier. You've got Fire Spin to pivot out of your very few and far between bad matchups. Slashed, you actually have enough speed to guaranteed crit with it. Counter is just awesome. There's also stuff like Body Slam. You do have Sword Dance, but you'd never run it. So, like, Charmeleon is genuinely, like... I mean, this tier shift could not have gone better for Charmeleon. Like, you've got Weepinbell, which is pretty threatening, and Charmeleon just terrifies it. Like, yeah, you're kind of scared of status, but like hitting your opponent's Weepinbell with a Stab Fire Blast can be worth having your Charmeleon get statused. Let's see. And like Rhyhorn, Weezing, and Wartortle were like its 3 worst matchups, and they all rose, plus Ponyta was its biggest competition, and that rose. So, like, this worked out perfectly for Charmeleon, and it's really good now. Like, it wasn't bad before, but, like, it wasn't this good before either. I'm not going to go over every Pokemon that existed in the tier prior, because that would take a while, and I don't know exactly how good everything is yet. But for one last thing, I want to talk about 2 Pokemon that weren't good before that are good now. Horsey, no more Weezing, no more Wartortle. It can finally be like the agility sweeper it always wanted to be. The only real problem is like Razor Leaf, but you speed tie Ivysaur, you outspeed Weepinbell. Agility allows you to escape through paralysis speed drops. You've got pretty good bulk, so you can set it up fairly reliably. It's a decent late game cleaner. Doduo is a terrifying early game Pokemon because it has this speed, and it has this attack, and it has these stab moves, and Rhyhorn is gone. Like, not much else to say. You also have agility, which is cool. And finally, you might think Geodude is good now, and you might be right, it's kind of too early to say. It was very good when Magneton was still in the tier, but with Magneton banned, it's tricky because it's slow, and unlike Rhyhorn, it doesn't have a high enough HP to really tank special hits decently at all. You do have Explosion, which is cool, but like, I don't know, it's kind of unproven, but I definitely think it has potential. It's definitely better than Kabuto, though. And overall, like, that's about all I can really say. There's gonna be more meta explanation. Sorry, not explanation, exploration. And I do wanna like make a follow-up video once we have a solidified viability ranking. But for now, I'll just leave it there, and there will be a link to the SU Discord server in the description. So check that out if you want to help develop the meta. See you in the next video. Bye.